Reading for today comes from Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 to 12. I'll be reading from the NIV, but on the screen should be the ESV. Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 to 12. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." After they heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Today's sermon is titled "Troubling News."
I'm used to saying good afternoon, church, but good morning, church. I feel very exposed because you can see my legs today. But Merry Christmas. Such a joy to worship God on this most beautiful day. We read from Matthew, and we read from chapter 2. If you read chapter 1, you'll just see names, and you'll think, what's going on here? What's with all the names? And it's a very Jewish beginning. Of all the Gospels, Matthew's Gospel has a very, very Jewish beginning. And Matthew is showing Jesus' lineage from the first patriarch, the great father Abraham, all the way through King David, through to him. It's surprising, though, we get to chapter 2, and we meet Magi, wise men. Now, we don't know exactly who they are. Some think that they were kings. That's why the old hymn sings, "We three kings of Orient." Right? Sometimes the people think they were kings. Some people think they were priests or priest kings. They were probably once part of a great Persian empire. They probably had some knowledge of Jewish beliefs through the time that the Jews were living under Persian rule before Cyrus set them free. But what we can be certain of is this. After introducing a very Jewish lineage, we meet Gentiles, we meet outsiders, people who don't know the God of Israel and his laws. But they have seen something. They have seen a star. And according to their practices, which God does not actually condone such practices, and yet we see his sovereignty in using them for his purpose. They see a special star. Again, we don't know. Was it a comet? Was it Jupiter? Was it Saturn? We don't know. People speculate. We don't know, and maybe it's not important. The important thing is they saw a star, it rose, and they traveled to worship. They probably started their preparations for travel as the shepherds met Jesus that night. And so just like as you saw in the play, the shepherds and the magi, they were never ever together. In fact, by the time they get to Jesus, it's not in a stable, but it's in a house. And so they come all the way to Jerusalem. They come to Herod, who is known as the King of Israel. And they ask him, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? They might have been thinking, he must be somewhere in the palace. Herod, you're the king right now. You must know where the future king is. But for Herod, this was troubling to him. This was troubling to him because it was a threat to his throne and to his line. And so he assembled his priests and scribes, and he asked them, hey, is there anything written in the scriptures about this? And they told him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for it is written by the prophet, and it's found in Micah, you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. And if you read Micah 5:2, it's not an exact quote. And in fact, the last line comes from 2 Samuel 5:2. But even though it's not an exact quote, it's not a misrepresentation either. Clearly, God has revealed something about a particular role this insignificant city will play. I don't think it's a coincidence that Bethlehem means house of bread. And indeed, in the house of bread would be born the bread of life, he who gave himself for us. And so, Herod summoned the Magi and said, asked them, when has the star appeared? So he's trying to figure out how long it's been, because by now Jesus is already old enough to walk. The journey has taken some time. He sent them to Bethlehem. Go and search. He's using them for his own purposes, because once he can find out where the child is, what's his plan? To remove the threat to his kingdom. Herod is not Jewish. And in fact, many people of God did not really receive him, even though he did great things for them. Herod was installed by Rome, and he could be removed by Rome. Herod always felt that niggling feeling that the people did not accept him. A king born in the line of David would surely be a threat. And this is what troubled him. News of a king does that. And news of a king has a way of troubling us as well. For we enjoy being the masters of our own life. We cherish, we prioritize our individual rights and freedoms. It's one of the foundations of modern Western civilization is personal freedom, personal authority. And so when we hear there's a king, that is troubling to us as well. What claim does this king have on me? Am I now under his authority, we ask. And so we have experienced in much of our world a dilution of absolute power. Ever since the Magna Carta was signed, there was a dilution of absolute power even within royalty. And now we don't serve kings anymore. Although we still technically have a king named Charles. He does not rule with the kind of might and authority that ancient kings did. However, it's not always troubling news, because for the oppressed, for those who are suffering under a foreign king, an evil king, or their own kingship, there is a longing. For those who just cannot get it right, who seems and feels that their life just falls apart, they just can't make it work. It's not troubling news at all, but it can be terrific news. It can be wonderful news. It depends on the kind of king you get. Friends, we celebrate Christmas because Jesus, the true King, was born on this day. And he's not the kind of king that rules harshly. He's not the kind of king that rules for his own glory and pleasure and selfishness, but he rules with love and grace. And indeed, because of that, because he rules by giving his life, the Father raised him up to all glory and honor. Friends, may we be people who are not troubled to know that Jesus is a king. May we be people who are joyful that we have a king, and therefore we can be happy under his rule. And unless you've forgotten, please remember this. We make lousy kings. We are lousy at ruling our own lives and ruling others' lives. So we remember Jesus this day. We look to him and we encourage others. There is a great and wonderful king. A king who came and born on Christmas Day, who gave his life to free his people and to unite them with the Father in heaven. We have a special item today in lieu of our closing song. And so we're going to ask our kids choir